Good afternoon, everyone. How's it all going? It's a busy week.
Waiting the spring break.
Yeah, I understand that totally. Same here. I'm also ready for the spring break. Yeah. Today we have lots of absence. It's almost time, so we should start. I hope the rest can follow the recording later. So, just giving a glimpse of what we did in the last class. I hope you could watch so it's a continuation. Today's class is a continuation of the grammar that we started looking at last class. And the same slide. If you cannot find the slide, it's not named with lecture 7b, which is today's class. Rather, it's the same slide I'm using. The total slide is 7a and 7b both. So it's one slide in week 7 module section. So let's begin. We talked about punctuations, where to use comma, colon, and semicolon in the last class. Today we'll talk about grammar, the other grammatical aspects like verbs. And when we talk about verbs, it's such a vast ocean because it has all these 3 categories. So if you are unaware of any of these terms, so I have divided this class, in today's class, in 2 aspects. One, this is a very basic one. Some might need it, and that's okay. So this is a basic, the basic functions of verbs. Another is when we talk about, this is the main academic writing aspects when we talk about grammar. How we can get rid of the choppiness, as we did a few tasks in earlier classes. How to get rid of verbose or wordiness so that we can be precise and direct to the point what we want to say. So this is what the advanced level of grammar that we need while writing paper, this slide. But I added a basic 2 slides just to talk for a few minutes in case you think you need those things. Also, I uploaded reading materials in the same module. You have books there also. Let's say you want to know more about non-finite verb, where we can use infinitives, why I'm using participle, not gerund. So that kind of basic questions, if you have, feel free to surf more, okay? But I'll give you a little touch. We'll do today this kind of tasks like subject-verb agreement, but the examples will be academic writing examples. It's very pretty simple to when we hear it, right? So there's a head noun. Based on that, we choose our subject. But there are tricky parts also. So we'll get to that point. And then, if you know quite well how and why, which tense we should use, why present perfect, why present simple, those kind of practices also from the book we'll do today. We all know that finite verb means it has a modal verb, and it's always about a tense. So that's also, I'm expecting we all know it. It has voice, like passive and active. Who is doing it? The research was conducted. Something was surveyed, that's passive. So those kind of changes, we'll have a look at those examples. And non-finite verb, of which we all might not know very well. So I'll just show you a few examples of non-finite verb. And about finite head nouns, we'll do examples and samples from the book. So let's get started. I have 3 sections here. And let's start with part 1, the first 2 sentences. Someone else? Anyone who would like to read it out loud?
Jamming too much clothing into a washing machine will result in a disaster.
Period. So here we have a subject. Jamming too much clothing into a washing machine. We have a verb. Will result. That's it. Now the next sentence. What's the difference between these 2? The next one, someone else? Anyone who'd like to read it out loud? Please.
Jamming too much clothing into the washing machine, he said it too loud.
So, do we know the differences? What is this and what is this? Do you know the names of these 2 sentences? the way the ing form has been used. The first one is called gerund. Here, the whole phrase, the ing form phrase, is used as a subject, head noun. And then we have a verb, simple structure. We have a subject, we have a verb, that's it, and an object. But here, the subject is this, he saved $2. That's the sentence. This is the verb. And all these things are participle. It's not the main subject. So it's the same verb, the verb jamming, used in two different contexts, in two different examples. We understood these two examples?
But they don't have the same meaning, right?
The meaning is changed here. He saved $2, that's the topic.
Okay.
And how he saved, that's the answer, jamming too much clothing into the washing machine. So it's not the head noun at all. It's the jamming here is a participle. And here, jamming is gerund, is working as a subject. Okay? The next one, same two examples. Anyone would like to read it out loud? This one? Please volunteer. And Jeff, go ahead.
Walking on the beach is painful if jellyfish have washed ashore.
So we see, as we're talking about finite and non-finite. Here, walking, it's a verb, but it's non-finite. This one is finite. It has a tense, present perfect. Have washed. Now, walking on the beach, it's not actually working as a verb at all. It's working as a gerund, subject. This is painful. That's what is written here. So walking on the beach is painful because of the reason that mentioned. The next sentence. Someone else would like to read it out loud?
Walking on the beach, she touched jellyfish that had washed ashore.
Nice, thank you. So here, the same walking, ing form of verb. In the first sentence, we saw it as a subject. And the verb is actually because of this subject. That's it. This is the subject, this is the verb. But here, she is the subject. Dodged, the main verb. It becomes a participle. It's actually modifying what she is doing. It's not the verb at all. It's not the subject at all. The subject is this, like this. He saved $2. How he saved $2? By jamming too much clothing into the washing machine. So he put all these clothes together in the washing machine or in the dryer. But the first sentence, jamming too much clothing into the washing machine, will result in a disaster. So it's verb, subject and main verb. We understand the difference? Non-finite is a little tricky because lots of verbs work in the same sentence. That's why I'm talking about particularly non-finite, not about the tense or modal verbs. Those are pretty easy. I hope you all know that. Okay? We understand the differences? Now the third one, the third section, I mean. I have three options here and one of them is wrong. I want you to find out which one is wrong and why. We all understood in different contexts, both are accepted. Same here. But here, no. One is totally grammatically wrong, but I haven't marked it wrong or crossed it wrong.
One of the three.
One of the three in the third part.
We can't see the third one because
Oh, yeah, sorry. Because of the recording screen. Now?
yeah, it's good.
Cool. Let me read it out loud for you. Draped neatly on a hanger, William borrowed Grandpa's old suit to wear to the interview. For the interview, William borrowed Grandpa's old suit, which was draped neatly on a hanger. The third option, draped neatly on a hanger, Grandpa's old suit was borrowed by William for the interview. So the same thing, in different ways, the verbs have been used. Which one you think? Only one of them is totally wrong, and the rest of the two are accepted. You might have a preference that even if the rest of the two are accepted, you might choose only one, that's also okay. But we need to find out which one is wrong, as in draw. The first one, she said. Okay, anyone else? The third one she said. Nice. More? Anyone who said second one? No.
Third.
Huh?
Third.
Third? No more. First one you think? Let everyone respond, huh? First one?
The three look right to me.
Okay. That's okay. Yeah, there's nothing wrong if you think so. It's okay. Jeff,
We know this.
which one is yours?
The first one is
Okay. Did you respond? First one is wrong? Nice. So the majority says, democracy says the first one is wrong, right? So let's hear the reason first then. What's wrong with the first one? Please.
I think we need some like something within that suit and to
Okay, so you think a punctuation would have solved it? Okay, someone else?
I think the subject is the sentence itself has the William is subject in the sentence, but the gerund part, that's the subject. is-
Participle. This is a participle, not general. But right you are. You mean this modifier is not modifying William.
Yeah.
William is not hang on a hanger. We understood walking on a beach. So who is walking? Okay, she. Got it. Jamming. Who jammed it? He. But draped neatly on a hanger, that's not William. It's called dangling modifier. We'll go to that point. What happened here? I mean,
What's the first
this
one?
is what is today's academic writing grammar discussion and dangling modifier. So I just showed an example of what dangling modifier is.
So the first one is wrong.
The first one is wrong. Because of this modifier is dangling. So what is hanging?
The suit.
The suit, not William. Draped neatly on a hanger, then you have to use the main subject if it's suit. If you want to say something is draped neatly on a hanger, not William.
That is why the third one is right, because then grandpa all suited.
Correct.
Okay.
Third one would be right because suit becomes the subject. What is hanging? The suit. Or you can write in a different way, William borrowed. If you want to write which was draped, if you want to use a passive form. We're good? So, and it happens a lot. I'll show you more examples when we subconsciously, when we connect more sentences, we use dangling modifier, which we have to avoid. We need to avoid dangling modifier. So we'll get to those examples. Let's begin. The first thing in academic writing, as we already have discussed earlier, we aim for brevity. We need a precise sentence. For instance, let's have a look at these two examples. She asked the men, women, and children to stand. You can easily attempt brevity here by changing men, women, and children into she asked the congregation to stand. So we have to look for summary nouns. That means if one noun can describe 3 words, use that one particular noun. Let's not go for 3 words. Next, in academic writing, we often, even if we are translating from first language to another language, or even if you're thinking, or the way we talk, we often use it, was, or there are, this kind of introducing phrases in a sentence. There and it, and an auxiliary verb. For example, it was clear from the high attendance that there are many who enjoy opera, which is grammatically correct, but it's verbose. You can easily attempt brevity by taking out or rephrasing this without this format. It was ... there are. This format, or it could be in any tense. I mean, it plus auxiliary, there plus auxiliary. So this format, for instance, the high attendance clearly showed, rather than saying, it was clear from the high attendance that. Make sense? So we are actually exploring multiple ways to attempt brevity or to be precise. Any confusion so far? Questions? All good? Or we can have many other ways like the high attendance demonstrated that we're using another kind of reporting verb. Okay? We also need to rephrase that plus clauses. For instance, someone would like to read it out loud. The example, government. Anyone volunteer, please?
Government facilities can only spend available funds. His fundamental belief is that
This one.
Okay. Government facilities can only spend funds that are available.
So that plus be clause, which we do not need here. If we can get rid of this, government facilities can only spend available funds rather than saying that are available. Another example, someone else would like to read it out loud?
This is in both academic and general. Right?
Yes, I mean, it's just attempting brevity so that when we construct longer paragraphs, we do not lose cohesion.
Okay.
Jeff, you want to read?
Yeah, his fundamental belief is that there is a conflict between Sartre's philosophy and his ethics.
So when we look at this sentence, it's grammatically correct, but in academic paper, it's verbose. You could have get rid of this structure, that, their, auxiliary. For instance, he believes that Sartre's philosophy conflicts, using conflict as a verb, rather than saying there is a conflict between Sartre's philosophy. The examples make sense? So I'm just showing you how we can get rid of choppiness, how we can get rid of a few words or phrases and restructure grammatically so that we become more precise and sentence becomes cut to the straight to the point. Any question, confusion? Cool. Another structure when we use verb to have, for instance, the candidates have a tendency to exaggerate their accomplishments, which is indicative of their insecurity. And the rephrased version, someone else would like to read it out loud? Anyone? Please do that. Yeah.
The candidates tend to exaggerate their accomplishments, indicating
Cool. So here what is done, have a tendency to exaggerate. This is called to plus verb, which is infinitive. The candidates have a tendency to exaggerate. You can easily rewrite it. The candidates tend to exaggerate by making tendency a verb. We don't need have. You got it? So we got to know it plus auxiliary, there plus auxiliary, this kind of structures we can easily omit or erase or rephrase. We can also rephrase that plus auxiliary clauses, or we can rewrite have plus auxiliary or verb clauses, or another kind of examples. This is very common in any scholarly paper. If we read, we'd see that nominalizations versus action verbs. What is nominalization? Nominalization usually have clusters, preposition clusters, jammed with prepositions. For example, the development of acceptable courses of action. So you see of, lots of prepositions when we use nominalization, the noun form of it. Now if you want to change it, the word development, into an action verb, then you can get rid of the prepositional choppiness. For instance, policy making involves developing acceptable courses of action. We need, please go ahead, one preposition here. Go ahead.
So having two preposition is sort of like grammatically wrong.
It's not wrong. That's why I didn't cross it. But it's verbose. It shows a weak approach to writing. It's not wrong.
Okay.
Because Grammarly will not correct it if you write it. The first sentence, they will not show red. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, even all the plagiarism or the grammar-based apps that even editors use, so these kind of things won't appear The computer will not show you this is wrong, that is wrong, even for the others. In all these cases.
Yeah.
All are grammatically correct, but for academic purpose, it's called choppiness. Mostly it happens if we translate. That I'm being very honest. Because I also have a first language. And it's very natural to translate. We think in the first language and then maybe we are translating into English. It's very common if we do not intentionally and rigorously practice to get rid of this choppiness. Please?
And I am assuming the way to improve that is by writing.
Definitely. Writing and knowing it. When you know it, that I use that plus auxiliary clause and I can write the sentence without it, then you will attempt it. But if we don't know it, we think it's right, it's correct, it's perfect, it's natural English. We think it's smooth. That's what we think, honestly. Right?
Yeah.
So that happened. With many of us it happened. But there is a difference when you see a natural flow and a choppy flow. And the best way to write is, when we say natural, we mean something that you can say precisely. The longer the explanation, there is a proverb, by the way. Have you heard it? The longer the explanation, the bigger the lie. So, so when someone has to explain a lot, that means it happens usually, let's say, two friends are meeting over a coffee. So someone came late. So now the person who came late, if he or she explains too long why he or he came late, then that means it could be a lie. And the honest approach is precise, short to the point, 1 or 2 words, as precise as possible. That's honesty. Gotcha? That also proves our knowledge. We know things, that means we can say in less words. When we don't know, we talk a lot. That happens. Even in writing. So I was talking about nominalization into action verbs. So that's one example. Another example is the next one. Someone would like to read it out loud for me? Please, Karen.
The state's improvement was due to the establishment of an impartial judiciary.
Now here, we do not have, yes, we have this nominalization, okay, establishment. Now if you want to rewrite it, we can make it a participle or gerund. Here in this case, it became a gerund. Establishing an impartial judiciary improved the state. Right? The state's improvement or the improvement of state was due to the establishment of an impartial judiciary. So actually this also means the improvement of state. It also has prepositional cluster in it. Make sense? We can make this a verb. We can change establishing an impartial judiciary, improve the state. Got it? Any question, confusion? This is a broader example or extended example of prepositional cluster that we have to avoid. For instance, in the case of a great number of developing countries, the volume of production rose over the course of the year far higher than the predictions of the economists, which is a correct sentence in grammar. The next one, the rewritten version. Someone would like to read it out loud? Yeah, go ahead.
The yearly production of many developing countries rose higher than economists predicted.
So rose is our main verb. The economics predicted, we are using a V3 form, which is a non-finite verb. And we got rid of all the prepositional clusters. Number of developing countries, volume of production, course of the year, predictions of the economists. Plenty of prepositional cluster. All good?
Yeah, I'm saying that I am the person who has the right.
We all have experienced it, right? We all have experienced it. The next one, another way to rewrite that. The yearly production of many developing countries exceeded, if you don't want to use the word rose or rise, exceeded economics expectations. That's a different verb, predicted. If you want to use a noun, expectations, yet we got rid of that choppiness. And that's very common in writing. So when we are, now as we know it, we'll be a little careful when we'll write it. Make sense? Any question, confusion? All good? This perhaps we all know, just giving some heads up on it. Verb to be when we use it. Let's say it's the same person. He is a mountain climber and the designer of hiking boots. We do not need auxiliary. Let's not use it if you do not need it. Get directly to the verb if you know the verb. He climbs mountains rather than saying he is a mountain climber. We do not need the verb to be. We can rewrite it. He climbs mountains and designs. He is the designer. Let's use the action verb so that the sentence suggests an action. You know, the sentence should not, then the sentence is not static. Rather, it's an action suggesting some consequence. So when you are using the verb directly rather than using the auxiliary in such cases. Another example, when we talk about persons or even about things, we miss this parallel structure. Someone who would like to read out the first one? Yeah.
During the war, women did all sort of new jobs, including acting as the police, truck driving, factory workers, and harvesting and planting.
So what we have here, we got it, I guess. We have adjectives, noun, ing form, and multiple different forms. We have to use same parallel structure. If you are using ing form, go with the ing form. If you want to use not the ing forms, police officers, truck drivers, factory workers, farm laborers, then go for it, like adjective forms. Up to you, but use the same structure. If you want to rewrite it and you prefer the ing structure, that's also fine, but do not mix. So use a parallel structure. When we use punctuations, particularly comma, as we did in the last class. So we are using the same subject and using punctuation, so we have to use the same structure. Make sense? Unclear antecedents. What happens with this kind of things? It's almost connected with the dangling modifier we just talked about in the beginning. Someone would like to read out the first one? The experiment, someone, please? No?
The experiment survived the failure due to the university backup generator, but it soon grew overheated and then it was running.
Period. So the problem with this, what I mean by unclear antecedents, this to it. It's not clear which it we are talking about. Are we talking about the power failure, the experiment? What got ruined? The experiment got ruined or the generator got ruined? Because we have many subjects here. The experiment survived the power failure due to the university's backup generator. But the generator soon grew overheated and the experiment was ruined. So you better make it clear if you have unclear antecedents. Because we have so many it here, and which verb is for which it, it's not clear. Make sense? Any confusion? Cool. Another example of dangling modifier. Who would like to read it out loud? Someone who didn't read so far. Is there anyone? Go ahead. Yeah, sure. Yeah, this example.
Having finished the assignment, my mother allowed me to go out when finished.
Oh, that's a different version. I'm sorry, I didn't use a period here. I should have used a period. So, having finished the assignment, my mother allowed me to go out, period. Or because I didn't have space enough. That's why I used oblique and continued the rewritten version. Otherwise, I had to use a separate slide and that would ruin the whole structure. So, because I came to the end of the point, that's also, it's not anymore accommodating in the slide. So, when I finish the assignment, or having finished the assignment, the difference between these two is I use I here. I finish something, or the subject and the verb. On the other hand, here we have having finished, or a participle form. We are using ing, right? Now the problem is depending on the subject. Who finished the assignment? It's not my mother. That's the problem. That's what dangling modifiers we're talking about. It's I who finished the assignment. It's not my mother who finished the assignment. So that's what we have to be very careful about. The same example we did,
Yeah.
what was that, the dangling modifier? Yeah, the suit. Yeah, this one. William is not on the hanger. Gotcha? So the same thing. Another example of dangling modifier, again, having completed the survey, data were entered. We can definitely use passive with data were entered, but if you are using having completed the survey, so it's actually you who did it, or the researchers, or the people, or the group. So there is someone else. So we, he, they, whatever. Please go ahead.
So when we use this modifier, those kind of sort of phrases, we always need to ask like, what is the subject? If it's the subject,
Correct.
when we write the next part, is now what?
Not modifying this modifier, then we have to rewrite it.
We have to write.
Yeah, because we often use non-finite verbs definitely with our main verb and subjects.
Yeah, but now I know how to do it.
And now it changes the meaning if we are not careful about it.
Yeah.
So that's the point. So we almost got to know all these kind of teeny tricky examples, how to aim for brevity, how to get rid of that, plus be clause, or it plus their clause, or verb to have, or what is nominalization and what is action verb. We have seen those examples. We have to get rid of prepositional clusters, any confusion, and most importantly, dangling modifiers. Questions? No questions? So let's do some tasks then. Page 315, let's start with the first one. And the easy one. We have to choose here, based on the head nouns, just choose the verb. And they have given you options like was or where. So you have to choose between singular or plural. Do you have the book or should I use per usual? I haven't added this in per usual. If you have the book, we don't need per usual, and if you want me to add it, it will just take a few seconds. Should I?
Yeah.
Right, per usual? Only the first one, task 15. And let's do it, it's actually quite easy one, but let's do it in group. Then it will be faster. Meanwhile, let me, page 315 in the book. Today is 1st March, right?
What page is it?
Page 315 is in the slide. Yeah. The first task is 15. So is it visible in per usual now?
Yeah.
Can you all see that? So we'll go to page number 315 means here it would be maybe 325.
3 to 7.
3 to 7. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, only the 6, 7, 8. Actually, 8 fill in the blank. Where we have to choose was or where based on the head nouns. Then we move to non-finance also. Starting with the easy warm-up. And it's better if we do it together. I mean, form your own group.
Yes.
Are you really accessible now?
Yeah.
Done? It's quite easy. Huh?
Yeah, it was. It's really quick.
Yeah. The last two is in a number of and the number of. I know, Grammarly, your Word doc actually will fix your singular
No, you just go to
confusions when you write. Now we have apps.
Sometimes
Sometimes it doesn't.
it doesn't.
When we have this kind of tricky sentences, like
Yeah, sometimes also.
data, numbers.
Or sometimes would give you the wrong, like it would suggest
Yeah.
the opposite. Because I have asked to some
Okay.
speakers and they were like, no, that is the right one.
So it's best to know all this. There's nothing better than knowing. Are we done? Let's discuss together. Want to share? All the groups, are you guys done?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, it's quite easy. Let's check our confusions. The first one. Singular or plural?
Right.
Single.
Oh, we have different opinions. Go ahead.
Yeah, because you're talking about the 4,500 grams.
Singular.
Was because A.
Or
Plural.
I guess.
Yeah. I think because you're talking about the undergraduates, also you can say a total of 45 undergraduates were recruited. Like, just avoiding for a single introductory psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're focusing on the only undergraduates.
Hold on. What about the others' opinions? Plural, plural, plural. So majority democracy says plural. Only you said because of our total of
Yeah.
no.
Singular.
I agree with you. Was.
You changed your mind or
No, I said
oh, you
was, yeah.
decided that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't get response from a few. But you guys say plural. Plural. Jeff? Confused? Huh?
Because of the total. Yes.
It's quite tricky, right?
It sounds like where is it?
So now we have to talk about. So it depends on the subjects and head nouns a lot. Definitely, when we talk about undergraduates, it should be plural. But because of our total of, let me reveal the whole thing. Here, everything is singular
Oh,
except number 2. Now let's get it. Now let's discuss. Yeah, now let's discuss. It's better to discuss now, so that I don't ask every group and that would take too much time. So now let's throw your confusions and let's talk about it. Well, over half of the participants, nearly 95% of the participants, approximately 90%. So when we have this kind of head nouns, 1/4, doesn't matter after of if we have a plural noun or not. After the preposition, whatever we have. So we have to actually remember it. We cannot forget it. So today, I hope that we all will remember it, except that one, the average score of all results. That's the exceptional one.
Why is that?
That's how it is written. That's how it is expressed. Results were 69%.
To move from the first one to the sixth one, or the other two one in the bottom?
Oh no, I'm not talking about the 7, 8. Yeah, only 1 to 6. Only 1 to 6, except the second one. The rest are singular. 100%. It's tricky, right? That's why this exercise is there. Otherwise, it would have been an easy shot. Please go ahead. You have a question.
This is the easiest question.
This was the easiest. Let's talk about. If you don't have any questions, we'll move to 7, 8. Which one? The average score of all results. We use plural with the average score of all results. Results were 69. If maybe the number when we used earlier, we use singular. The number is later, only with the second one, right? If I'm not wrong. In all the other cases, the number is in the beginning, right? Only the second one has the number later. Yeah, if we change that also, and if we shift this structure to this, again, it will be singular then. All the results is taken as a subject in this case. That's a pretty exceptional one, I would say. Yeah. I understand. In these cases, it is what it is. That's how it is expressed in English. Now, if you ask me to explain about was and where, that's how we write. You know what I mean? We cannot actually give you a logical, convincing answer. Make sense? In case of prepositions, why we use on, not in, or at, not up. In case of articles, when we use the, a. In case of singular and plural verbs, there are confusions and we use the way it is. So we'll remember these structures from now on because we use this kind of structures a lot in our papers, especially in data commentary chapters, when we're comparing data. About and the rule is, anyone? The 6 and 7. A number of, the number of. Do you know the rule? Anyone who knows the rule?
A number of is more. More.
Yeah, a number of plural, the number of singular. That's the rule. So, a number of high performing students where the number of student errors was. The easy way to remember is a number of plural, the number of singular. Always, now it doesn't matter whatever nouns we use with it.
But a total is what? Right? Based on the first and the first one.
Yes. That is only for a number of and the number of.
And then,
That's the way this phrase is used. Make sense?
yeah.
Now let's move to page number 86 of my slide. Here it would be page. This up a little more. Yes. Now here we'll talk about only, we read the passage, only 6 sentences we have here. So our task is, we'll read the 6 sentences and we have to discuss with our teammates or group mates about the verbs, particularly tense. I just want to know which tenses you see in the verbs and why you think it has been used. If it's past simple somewhere, it is present perfect somewhere, or whatever. And why? Okay, maybe the question is also in the book. The question is, question number 3. So in the next page, we have all the questions and we are not actually responding to all the questions. We'll just focus on the question number 3. What verb tenses are used and why? The tense you can see. Now, why that tense is used, that's the discussion. And we'll do it in groups. You can join them, I guess. That would be good. You 3 can discuss together. You 2 and you 4 can do it together. Let's not make it split. Let's not split. Let it be 4 members. So we'll discuss the reasons of verbs, tenses. Just a question. We all have seen road rage in real life. When people calling slangs and showing fingers on the road while driving to other drivers. You haven't never seen someone stopping the car, getting out of the car, and maybe shouting at someone else. We have seen it. It's pretty common in many cultures. In my culture, yes.
Yeah.
From where I come from, I came from Bangladesh.
It's popular in Chicago.
It's all, yes, about US I was about to say. I have seen here a lot. Yes, people do that. They take their glass down. I mean, the window near to the driving seat, and then they show fingers to the other person.
It's like hi.
Yeah, I mean the slang finger, whatever. So it happens. So here the researchers are actually talking about why road rage happens. So what are the reasons? That's why I said, some say that it's a cultural phenomenon. Saying it is a cultural phenomenon might be a stretch. The phrase, the reason I'm discussing what road rage is, may be a stretch. This phrase means it's too much. This means it's too much. to say that or to prove it. To say road rage as a culture, that would be too much. Because that would validate road rage.
But it's like if as a cultural habit of retaliation,
Which one?
right? If that's a big one.
Yes, I mean, that's.
Because
This author is not buying this logic. If someone says that, oh, it's a culture there. No, I mean, then you are actually weakening the definition of culture. And glorifying road rage or accepting road rage. If you say it's a culture there. This author is arguing that he's not buying this logic. We're done discussing, or?
has the same, it's like present versus present perfect. Because it's the present perfect. But it's half been described. So it's present perfect. It's the form.
We should start discussing because we almost ran out of time. Shall we? So let's have a look at the screen here. So we have in the first sentence we have past simple. Right? Was first coined in a passive form. Got it. So we have past simple. So can we say that the dictionary definition we have past simple? Now the next ones I'll be asking you guys. So we have a dictionary definition in past simple. Okay? We can see this board. Or is it blocking you? You can see that screen?
Yes.
For the screen. Yeah, this is better.
Better? Cool. The next one, we have some research to suggest that, so we have,
I have a question in the
Sure.
first one. So it says was first coined and then it's defined. That also is passive.
oh yes, sorry I missed it. Right, we have another verb in present simple passive.
Yeah.
Nice, let's discuss this too. Anyone who'd like to say the two tenses we see in the same sentence? Past simple and present simple. We understood the difference? Anyone would like to say something or confusion? So it's a dictionary definition, but we are using past simple when we're talking about first coined in a past year. So that's done. But here we are giving a general definition. Right? So we have actually in the dictionary definition sentence past simple and present simple both. This passage is very interesting the way the reason I selected it. It also has present perfect. It also has present simple. So it's a beautiful mixture of the usage of verbs. Let's talk about the next ones. So we see present simple when why would you think that the present simple is used, let's say in the next sentence? Anyone who can share something?
So many researchers at this point suggest that idea is that definition is not accurate.
Okay.
The researchers, the research suggestion is not happened before at this point. Now, presently, they're making suggestions that definition is not correct.
Yeah, so when we are talking about, that's why I wrote this point, expert definitions. So we see the way the whole paragraph is structured, we see dictionary definition. First, it was coined when, and it is defined generally how. So we got it, past simple, present simple. But when we talk about expert definition, we have this diverse aspect. Like some researchers suggest road rage has been described. Now my question to all of you is, what's the difference if we do not use present perfect? We got it suggest. It's very obvious and common to see that. Some researchers suggest that. My question is, road rage is described as if we write it, and maybe you do, then what would change? Rather than writing present perfect, has been described. Someone?
So I think if it has been described is what you said before, is that author doesn't necessarily agree with that, and it's just referring like, this is another sort of like description of this, like what is flow rate.
So
But
do you think the author is not buying this definition, that's why I wrote present perfect?
yeah, because if you say is described, then for example the road rage
You generally
is
agree with
described. It's like agreeing with it.
Okay,
So something like that.
it's a good point of view. Anyone else would like to share?
We can't use is because he meant about something that's still ongoing. So he's like mixing between the past and present because of that he used.
But here it's not actually past. Present perfect is actually not past.
It's like something happened and still ongoing, right? Has been.
It has been recently described, or a recent,
Yeah.
yeah,
But if he used is, then he meant the
general and always there.
Yeah.
Okay, good point. Nice. Yeah, that could be an angle. Anyone else? No? So my point of view in this case is, we have seen, I'll answer these 3, 4, 5 together. 3, 4, 5 sentences, because in 4, 5 we see present perfect.
Yeah.
Some have gone so far. In number 3, road rage has been described, right? So this 2 sentences we have present perfect. So expert definition, we see present simple. When it's accepted, maybe. When it's not accepted, but reasonable. Arguable. Could be logical, but he's not totally accepting. He's using present perfect tense. We can differentiate this, the logic behind usage of these tenses. And then, the next question is why the author used modals, you think, in the end, in the latter sentences. Modal verbs like may, or what we have here, may prompt. We also have yeah, so we have modal there in the 6th sentence. Also in the 5th, may be a stretch. So we have modals. Anyone who would like to say why modals have been used? 5th and 6th.
Because he's not sure about what he's saying. You took us that before, right? When
Okay.
you're not totally sure, you can use like may or might.
Okay.
Something in between.
Anyone else who would like to share?
Because I guess in this case, like it sounds like this type of whatever road rage behavior. In some cases this is what has happened, but then in other cases has not happened. So you cannot just make a situation. So, he's just trying to say, this happens without generalizing.
Yeah, it's called thinking.
That is gonna be always the outcome.
So, we remember hedging? When we learned in the very early classes, hedging and boosting. So this is hedging, maybe a stretch. Rather than saying that this is BS, it's not saying it's not viable. But it's using hedging, not boosting, not saying this is illogical. That's not the author said. The author cannot write that this is totally ... The author cannot do that. So you use hedging. And when we use modular hedging to express our opinion, it's actually the author's opinion. We use in this guise of may when we use modules. So when the author is using his comments or her comments, we don't know the name of the author, may be a stretch. So it's actually his or her opinion. Make sense? It's his or her opinion. So that's why we see modules. All good? Now another. We have time, right? Yes, we have. Another short such passage, and we'll talk about verbs. That's in page number. In the book, it should be in page 33. Yes. And in this, per usual, if you click page, gotcha, page 43. If you click in the box, page 43, it will take you to this passage. We'll not answer the questions in between this passage. We'll read the sentences. Page 43, 44, and 45. And we'll only talk about two questions. Question number 6 and the last question. What's the last one? Yeah. Question number 9. So let's start reading. In the book, page 33, task number 16, if I'm not wrong, as far as I remember. We'll not answer the questions in between. We'll directly jump to question number 6, where it talks about one non-finite verb. And question number 9, where it talks about connection. We'll skip the questions in between. We'll just read the passage and the sentences, and we'll go to the question number 6 and 9. 6 and 9. And the passage starts with the biological clock, correct? The biological clock. Just skim through the other sections to understand the theme of this topic. It starts defining biology clock and then moves to how it works in health. Question 6 and 9. Bless you. Let me know if you're done reading. Are we done? Done? Being discussed? Yeah, let's talk. Question number 6. Someone who'd like to read out loud the sentence before.
What is the relationship between the
That's a question. I mean the sentence.
Sunlight reset the internal biological clock each day to synchronize the rhythm of activity of clock genes, promoting the production of certain substances such as hormones which are necessary for maintaining good health.
So we have here a connector, non-finite verb, promoting. And the question is why promoting as a non-finite verb has been used and what's the usage of it. It's used as a cause and effect relationship sentence. If you use as a result, and you don't need to use then promoting, then the sentence will be bigger, but the same meaning will be there. For instance, as a result, some substances will be promoted. Then you have to use passive. You can use ing and get rid of the choppiness. If you use non-finite verb here, ing, it's connecting the sentence as if resulting in this. So it's a cause and effect relationship. Please?
So the promoting here is right.
Correct, yeah. We don't have to change anything. Just we have to discuss what kind of purpose the word promoting is serving in joining these two things.
So promoting is a define.
It's correct, yeah. It's correct. So the reason I chose this question is, so ing or participles in the ing form, they often help in cause and effect relationship, in developing cause and effect relationship. Even you might have seen the word resulting as in the ing form, resulting the word. Another, the last one. Doctors can consider this valuable information in the treatment of sleep disorders. This is definitely a wrong flow. Reason, suddenly we see a subject doctors. In the whole reading earlier, we haven't seen anything like that. Make sense? So it's not a good flow. So what I would recommend, if we use passive verb, then it would make sense. For instance, this valuable information, if you make this subject, then the verb would be, anyone? This valuable information can be considered by doctors. You do not make doctors your subject in the sentence. If you start the sentence with this valuable information, can be used or can be caused or can be considered, or let's use another verb, can be used by doctors in the treatment of sleep disorders, that's fine. Then it would make a good flow. We all convinced? Question, confusion, queries? So we just saw how the change of verbs can change the flow also. That's why I just chose these two kinds of things. One is passive, another is the ing form. Now the most important thing that I need you to see in a minute, just a minute, you have to book a slot. Next week we'll not have a class because we will have individual conference, which means I'll be giving each of you feedback one-on-one. We'll not have a physical class here. We'll have a Zoom call. Make sense?
On Monday? Or
Now, the feedback would be on the writing that you'll be submitting. So I expect it won't be on Monday because you'll be submitting to me by Monday night. This one, the first draft of your introduction or literature review, or you can combine them. You don't have to write much, 500 words enough for me to give you feedback. So that, for example, the passage that we just have read. It has a starting, it has an ending, it has a flow, it has a thesis statement, a purpose statement. It can be shorter. Just allow me to know your paper and give you feedback on your paper. Oh, slots, if you click here, it will show you 4 options. So you can choose your options. I would prefer group-wise, like not exactly one-on-one, maybe 2, 3 in one session, that's also fine. But you have to submit this first.
yeah.
And the deadline is next Monday night. If you click here, it will show you instructions, what I'm expecting from you. So let's say I'm clicking here. So here are the instructions. The 3 moves in introduction that we expect. Mention the background, the gap, occupy the niche, and whatever we have done so far. So you'll write at least 500 words. You can go max 1,000. I'm not expecting it, but if you do, I don't mind. Okay? And you can book your slot. Most of the slots are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. If you do not get any slot, you're busy all those times, email me. We'll find a convenient schedule. And if any of those fit into your schedule, awesome. Let me show that Google form to you too, so that those who will be seeing this recording can have an idea what we're talking about. So when I click here, this is what you'll get. So you can choose any convenient time of yours. If you're not free at all, email me, we'll find a convenient one. I don't mind having this scheduled on Friday also. If you're not free on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but we'll find out something. All good? And in that Zoom call, I'll be only talking to you about your writing and your paper that you'll be submitting to me by Monday night. And we'll not meet Monday, Wednesday here. We will directly meet after the spring break. And why I said this is the first draft. The submission is first draft, because I'll be giving you suggestions. Within the break, you'll be correcting based on my feedback. Or after the break,
After, yeah.
After the break, that's okay. So we'll not be meeting this week and during the break, definitely. So we'll meet on the 20th of March, 20 next. Possibly, that's the schedule. No, we'll have Zoom calls, yeah. We don't have in-person class before spring break. All good? Sounds interesting?
That's cool.
That's cool? Thank you.
And where is the grammar book you mentioned in the slide?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Yeah, you mentioned in your slide that you uploaded a grammar book.
Oh, if you need, yes, a grammar book is there. You need to find out the grammar book? Yes, it's in the reading. Reading. This is-
Is the option?
Yes. Yes. And if you go to the home page, you'll see this. Midterm break. We'll meet next here. March 20. And we'll have individual conference instead of in-person classes this Monday and Wednesday. We'll not be meeting in person in this classroom this week. And if you do not find your slot, email me. Bye-bye. Have a good break.